Hey, StoryMakers. I'm so excited to have you guys here on the pod because my friend Wallace Benton is with us. And we are so excited. The fall is just around the corner. And if you are a grown up who's in charge of children in any kind of way, if you're a parent or if you're getting ready to launch Sunday school, all of the above, we're going to have such a fun convo today talking about how to ease into the fall with our friend Wallace, who is an extraordinaire in youth and family world. So Wallace, welcome. And can you just share a little bit about who you are and where you're coming to us from?
Yeah, I'm Wallace Benton, everyone, and I currently live in Alexandria, Virginia. I serve as the Associate Director for Lifelong Learning here at Virginia Theological Seminary. And, I've done parish ministry, like I was a youth minister for about 10 years. I've done college ministry for about, I guess, like 5 years, maybe almost, or 4 or 5 years. And so now I'm in this different kind of space doing continuing education and lifelong learning, which has been really interesting, really fascinating. So, yeah.
Wallace also has some kids too.
Yeah.
Your father.
Well, yeah, I forgot about that part of my ministry. Yeah,
Cool. It's cool. You're not stressed by it, so you didn't mention it.
I mean, maybe I am stressed by it, and that's why I didn't mention it. No, so I think that's been like a really interesting experience of being both being married and then a father of a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and so it's been really, really fun and also really exhausting. And so, and I think that I thought that maybe doing youth ministry for so long and doing college ministry for so long, that they would be helpful in doing this like children's ministry with children who live in my house full time. and and what I'm learning is that like sarcasm, which you can do with youth and with college students, is that you can't do that with kids. The joking around is just really different. The like, yeah, you should know this, right? And they'll just look at you and say, what are you talking about, you weirdo? So it's been really interesting.
Well, yeah. So Wallace has expertise from all ends of the spectrum. Wallace and I met a while back. We were on a board together that was dedicated to youth and family formation. And, I think what's so important, in your work now, you've had all this boots on the ground experience. And so as you're you're discipling, leading people as they're about to go out into ministry or they're coming back and forth, you get to speak into that zone, which is amazing. And that's why we have you here today. So when we think about the fall, and Wallace, when you think about when you were getting ready for the fall as a youth minister, what were the things what were your main triggers thinking about September rolling up?
Oh, man. So I think the big one is that so I grew up in Georgia, and a lot of my parish ministry experience was in Georgia. And so in Georgia, you'll have churches who will say like, okay, we're going to start after Labor Day. School starts in many places in Georgia, like August 1st, August 8th. You're not getting past August 15th without like school having been started. And so the whole idea of starting your program year after Labor Day was always really difficult for me. And so you would have like churches who would say like, we're just going to hang out until Labor Day. Everybody's coming back after Labor Day. I'm like, yeah, but everybody is starting their life like August 1st.
They're here.
Yeah, so like their year has started. They're in the groove, and so what you're asking them to do is to hold off on starting their church year for a full month. And that was a trigger for me, especially recognizing that like I didn't have kids, so like at the time, so like I was kind of like, why are we waiting? I think that was a trigger. I think another one was that usually I would forget to like start planning August things until like July 15th. And then all of a sudden I would say like, oh gosh,
That's
even though
pretty
like
good, actually.
I should probably do
Believe me,
something,
I've
right?
had some emails and we're getting started. Do you guys have digital downloads like this morning?
Yeah. And
Like,
you're
what?
like,
That's so
oh yeah.
stressful.
So I think that there were just, the number of times that I feel like I would get caught unawares, that August was coming, that school was starting, and then even because I believed so strongly that we should start, even like 2 weeks before Labor Day, give people like a week or two to like figure out their schedule, and then like have something that like kind of middle of the way of August. Um, I then would get caught unawares and be like, oh yeah, I need to start planning stuff, even if it is just like we're gonna have a get together, or we're gonna have a something to feel it out. And then I think like the last big trigger is we depending on the church, what does that for how are we like starting our new program year? So is that, once again, like, is that going to be, we're going to have some get-togethers before we start doing actual, whether it's Sunday school or is it not Sunday school? Are we going to have, I remember some churches would have like a ministry fair,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the way that they like break open the program years. We're going to have a ministry fair and people are going to learn about ministries. Well, is that also happening at the same time that we're going to be having the barbecue outside, and so then nobody's going to go inside for the ministry fair? Like some of those things of like, so what actually is kind of like our breaking the seal, or are we just going to it's kind of like going to get a this might be a very unique experience for people. I feel like this is a trigger of mine, is like going to buy like a Coke in a bottle at a restaurant, and then they don't have a bottle opener on hand.
So what I'm hearing is that planning to play is really important.
Oh man,
3 of those threads. I think that's like the heightened, that is definitely, those different details all relate to like being able to like plan to play, right? So it's like, it's hard to play if you're like showing up and you don't have the Coke bottle opener, or you don't really know when you're starting, or you really want to move with the kids and invite them into Sunday school or programming when they're going through starting the school year, and you can't really do it.
Especially if you have like, and I don't want to say old customs. That's not always fair to like kind of blame traditions, but I think to have like customs that have said, or that have kind of said, we aren't starting anything until X, Y, and Z. It's not fluid, or it's not actually listening to what's happening around us. The last time that I think, like I said, I grew up in Georgia. I moved there in 4th grade. We started school in the middle of August every year since 2000 or 99, 98. And so like
over 25 years.
Exactly. And so to pretend as though nobody has started school until Labor Day in the Metro Atlanta area is absolutely ridiculous to me.
Well, so I think, that's such a thing, right? Not to have flexibility or to have a Gumby mentality.
Yeah.
I think in ministry, when you do want to be present and plan to play and not be hyper stressed, you have to have like this mentality around like, I'm a little Gumby. We're going to be a little Gumby. And I'm sort of have the mindset of like 80% is amazing. So planning to play with like whatever your ambitions are, whatever you're getting ready for this fall, if 80% of the things that you dreamt of come true, like that's amazing. I mean, that's a winner chicken dinner. So, yeah. What do you think about flexibility, Wallace, when it comes to easing into the fall.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important. I think about the number of times where, like I said, like I'm caught unawares and I'm like, oh yeah, summer's coming to an end, and the number of times that I would like that, I think the quick pivot is really important. The number of times like saying like, hey, like, this year, we're going to try something new, instead of doing the same old, same old. So, so I remember one parish that I worked at, they would always they would have like they would call it a back to school bash. And because of like how our program year sort of laid out, we couldn't wait until the classic time to do back to school bash. So instead I was like, well, let's have like a different kind of back to school bash. We're still going to like brand it. I was like, it would be fun to like come up with a goofy brand, especially because I had a youth who said, well, back to school bashes are silly. And so did I name that back to school bash after that youth, just to make it really obnoxious and like really play it up that we were going to be doing this thing? Yeah. But we basically had to do a quick pivot, and we had to be willing to like say like, hey, like we're not going to do exactly what we wanted to do or make it flow the way that we wanted to do it, and that's okay, because basically we were like losing a weekend because of another youth event that was happening in our diocese. And so like we had to, if we wanted to do a back to school bash, we needed to do something else. Yeah, so
blessing of the backpacks.
Yeah, like if we're going to do blessing of the backpacks, like, maybe every single year the blessing of the backpacks looked one way, and maybe this is just the year that's not going to play. Like we have to try something else, and that's all right. I think it's being light on our toes is really important in ministry, anyways. Recognizing that each gathering, especially if we're intentional, but also if we're willing to like, there's a song that I really like that there's a line, with my hands wide open. Now I'm not going to remember the line, but that idea of like God really like resides in these spaces where instead of like keeping our hands tight and holding on to the things that maybe we find really important as tightly as possible, maybe that's when we need to like really start to like open our hands a little bit and let like the Spirit of God like come in and like do something really cool that we wouldn't have thought about beforehand.
Yeah, because I'm sure that you've seen this, Wallace, and we've all been in this place and as parents or youth and family people, where you have this idea, this expectation, and you're really holding on to it very tightly, and you sort of miss the moment of the actual child or youth because you're so engrossed in like making sure the thing happens correctly or accurately. And then you're like, wait, I just like didn't even engage, like really, and I didn't really have a presence with the people I'm supposed to be with. That happens a lot too, right? You just kind of you can get a little stuck in what you think ought to happen. And right, you lose that lightness of toes, for sure. Wallace and I have been in ministry for a long time, so I'm sure there have been some trip ups. Maybe we could learn from each other's trip ups. Do you have any appropriate trip ups you could share?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that this is the I think I always want to preface that I was really young. And
yeah, I also recognize both really young. If you got started in youth ministry in college, we were young.
Yeah. And this, this was like one of those, like, it's one of my first weeks at my first like youth ministry positions, and I was like, I really want to focus on community. I really want to focus on relationship and like getting to spend time together, whether that was engaging with each other like one-on-one or large groups, but really just like spending time together. And so because of a quick pivot that we had to make, I was like, let's do like a movie, and I grabbed a movie from the movie bin in this youth room, and I was like looking through the movies, and I was like, oh, this movie, they show on ABC Family, so it's probably fine. Like, let's just toss it in. And I know that if I say the movie, I should say the movie, because like I feel like everybody else is significantly smarter than me and was like, you're dumb. And that's fair. I was 23, like 22, 23.
It was in the youth bin. Probably some family offloaded it.
Yeah. and I showed the very beginning of National Lampoon's Family Vacation,
Okay.
which does not fly at all.
There are a handful of movies that you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because we probably saw them when we were kids, and it didn't know what it was. Sarcasm just went right over our heads. You have no
Well, and
idea.
it's like
You're
it was on
watching it.
ABC Family. Like I think I went in the ABC Family, and then I went National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I watched that like with my swim team. Like
Yeah.
like I think I did all of these mental math steps, and then then we're watching it, and I was like, oh gosh, we gotta do something else. And so then like that,
It was
like
probably VHS too, or I don't know, did you have a CD?
like I yeah
You
I don't
can't like
remember.
stop it quick enough.
And so instead like we had to I think we went outside and like somehow found like wiffle ball equipment. There maybe are 5 kids, so we're 5 kids and maybe and 2 adults, and so maybe we have like lopsided teams. And I was like, we're gonna play wiffle ball together. We will figure out something else in the future.
Well, I remember one year we decided to do, Jackie, who's listening, we decided to do this really complex pageant, but we didn't rehearse. Like we made all of these costume things, and we're like, this is gonna be great. And it was sort of disastrous and very short. And the priest was like, was that it? The whole thing?
You're like, yeah.
That was it. Can you do it again? There are
We have a
families just
runtime.
walking into the service. Like that was so short and really confusing. But there's you got to laugh at yourself, and there's tripped up moments, and God works through all of those things.
Yeah.
But I would say, as you kind of think about the fall, what I have, what drops my anxiety and protects my nervous system is to plan to play and to have some flexibility. Like those are kind of the key things for me. What would you say, Wallace?
Yeah, I think what's also important is that the beginning of the year is the time, and it's hard. I guess I should preface, it is hard to do this thing, but I think it's to be creative and just allow yourself like that opportunity to like, I'm gonna try this thing that maybe like we've never done before, or I just want to see what happens if we try it. I had an intern one year, and there was one day where we were kind of like trying to just like just spin around some ideas of like, let's try something new. And we came up with a game that was we called it, because for some reason we were like, we need to be indoors. And so and the space that we had for the youth room was this kind of like long like open room that you could like move stuff to the side, create like a long open room. And so we decided to create this game that we called Crab Ultimate Football. And so everybody had to crab walk. It was also like Ultimate Frisbee, Crab Ultimate Frisbee. And so there were like soccer rules involved. So it was like kind of like crab soccer, but then like Ultimate Frisbee rules. People are getting wrecked left and right. But that was like a game that then like my youth were all like, yeah, like this is our new game. We want to do this. So when we have lock-ins, or when we would meet up with other groups, like they would be like, okay,
Like,
let's play
don't
this
you know
game
about
called
this?
like Crab Ultimate Frisbee. I forgot the name of it. But we were just like, let's try something new. And I think you get to do that at the beginning of the year, especially, where you just like, let's just feel something out, and then talk about it with parents afterwards, or talk about it with kids afterwards. And if it hits, then it hits. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And then you get to like say like, okay, well, we're gonna go back to like what we used to do, or we're gonna iterate off of that and like try something else. And I think that's like I think about that with like curriculum, right? Like we're gonna try new curriculum. Well, you get to try that at the beginning of the year, and I think being willing to then say like, hey, like this is working, or no, this isn't working, or here's this piece that works really well, but I think it would work really well if we like add it to this other thing over here. And I think I enjoy that kind of creative process, that iterative process. or action research process for those people who are in their doctoral programs and thinking about research methods that I think you get to do at the beginning of the year, especially. That's hard to like try to implement.
Yeah, that's the thing about I think ministry so often, and people maybe don't associate this so strongly, but there's so much creativity involved if you allow the freedom to allow yourself to be playful and to kind of experiment a bit. And that's one of the, I think, surprising joys of ministry is that you get to try stuff, and then you're collaborating with your kids or the parents, and there's a synergy that happens and a new thing that happens. And I think the same thing is true for parents too, when you're thinking about the fall and like, what rhythms do I want to set up with my family this year? What are we going to do? What are we going to try? I think just trying stuff is great, right? And maybe get there 80%. Less is fine too, but you gave it a go. There's no harm, no foul, really. And so it's like, well, why not? Well, Wallace, you're so full of wisdom. And for all of you out there listening, try something new, get creative. What always protects my anxiety is to plan a bit and to remain flexible. I think what you said, Wallace, about having hands open, remaining Gumby, so that you can manage your expectations, because expectations is a big thing too, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have super high expectations for your kids or for the parents, resentment is just like hiding right around the corner, and that's no fun.
I think that like recognition that like you are brilliant, right? You are brilliant and you're amazing and special butterflies and all of the other things. And those things are all true. And you don't have to be Jesus. You don't even have to be Paul or Peter. You get to be Matthias. Nope, we don't talk about Matthias. But Matthias, I believe, probably did great things. This is where everybody now realizes that I'm not a biblical scholar.
I'm with you. Let's go.
but you don't have to be like the great disciples, or you don't have to be like Jesus, or you should try to be like Jesus. But you don't have to be Jesus.
Jesus has come for you, and there's all this grace and mercy on top of you, and you just get to share what Jesus is about. So
exactly.
You don't need Jesus, you get to share what Jesus is about.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Less pressure.
Less pressure. You're not gonna, if your program if you're for like your back to school thing, if you have 1,000 kids who show up for it, that's awesome. That really is awesome. Or if 1,000 adults come to it, or whatever your group is, that's really great. And it's also great if you have 5, right? Like, just have fun, connect with God. Those are your kind of those should be your 2 temples.
Yeah, be present, and like whoever's been put before you who's been put before you on purpose. And so, if you imagine that it should be different than what is in front of you, that makes it a little tricky to be present and have fun. I mean, I just think fun should really be a top priority. So candy really helps too.
And if you're being told if you work at a parish and you're being told by your supervisor that you are the only evangelist in your community, then your supervisor might be wrong. Like, that shouldn't be your only.
I'm not Jesus. I get to tell people about Jesus.
Well, and even then, Jesus had other people who were helping him. Right?
Yeah, he had a delegation.
Exactly.
He had a delegation. Well, Wallace, we love to chat about our favorite stories and what's captured our imaginations. And maybe you have a disciple-y story you want to tell, but what stories have captured your imagination, or what do you think is good for? I know you've got little kids, so you might be reading some little kid books that are really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you about all the Pokemon books that my son is reading right now, or like we're deep in the Magic Treehouse series right now.
Oh, those are very good.
yeah. Between that and then we have like these Pokemon chapter books that we're reading. Um, but I was also thinking about, biblical stories or verses that like are really standing out to me right now. And I think one of the ones that I went to a conference and I was trying to look it up so that I could get it right. But I went to a conference and they were talking about Ezekiel's call for us to
Mm,
be like watchmen,
mm,
watch people
mm,
who are standing up on the ramparts, who are looking out and looking for God.
mm,
And and I think that that's been something that's been really inspiring to me. That like there are all of these moments where God is coming up. These God experiences are arriving at our gates, and a lot of time we're missing them. And so
mm,
instead, like, how can we be like watchmen who are looking for God and like pointing out and saying like, "Hey, there's God over there,"
mm.
or "Hey, this is one of those moments," and writing it down, or in like really embracing it, really enjoying it, really basking in those God moments. And so I think that's been something that's been I've been spending a lot of time thinking about, or that's been like kind of like subtext within other places that I've like been engaging with, is where am I seeing God in these moments, and how can I point it out to other people.
I think it's fantastic to leave us with too, Wallace. Like as we're planning for the fall and thinking about what's ahead and what's around the corner, having eyes to see, being curious, inviting your kids to begin to wonder and to see like where God is moving. In all the ways. And as you kick off, and if you're having a ministry fair, blessing of the backpacks, or a bash, whatever's going on, God is in the move, and we get to be curious, and we get to highlight and bring that. Bring the Watchmen to our kiddos. So thanks so much, Wallace, and thanks for all your pro tips. You can it's like when you've been in the biz for a while, you've done some stuff and you've learned.
You've seen some things. You've probably forgotten some things. That's great.
And all we want to do is lighten your load a little bit. But remember, always have fun, have some candy. And I love the collaboration, creative ideas that Wallace brought to us today. So, anyway, tune in, Storymakers. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye, guys.